Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Mosher. It's Adam Caplan, and it is Friday morning. You know what that means? We are going to break down this huge game, Adam, between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers at Heinz Field, where there will be fans. How many they put in, I guess we'll see. It's not going to be capacity crowd, of course, but it's going to be the first time this year.
I think they get it's going to be 5,000-6,000 people that are going to go.
Right.
I've watched games now with fans in it for that kind of crowd. The Chiefs crowd made some noise, but it's matchup to matchup. Oh, and by the way, the weather, which looked bad earlier this week for Sunday, looks as of Friday morning, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like the rain will not hit. Now, of course, forecasts can change and will. But if you were thinking that the Eagles would have an advantage, like me, with maybe if they could rain, it would help the Eagles.
You think with Carson's inaccuracy, the last thing he wants is a wet ball, huh?
Well, Carson was better last game, but certainly not good enough. Not good enough. Right now, it doesn't look like it's going to rain, but it could because it's in the 20% range.
Right.
I just want to see a good game. We'll get to the breakdown in a minute, but this injury situation is fascinating. There's a couple things happen which I thought were odd on Thursday. We'll get to that. And you're right, Geoff. It's a huge game for the Eagles. Huge game of both are really tough. But the Pittsburgh game and the Baltimore game, they're completely. You couldn't have different offenses. Like if you just drew them up, they're completely different. But this one is going to be fascinating on both sides of the football.
Yeah, it certainly will be. As antithetical as they are right now on offense, very similar as far as defensive pressure. They're both teams that are really good at getting pressure on the quarterback, and we'll talk about that. We will break it down. We're also going to break it down with Greg Cassell and Trey Thomas on Sunday from 10 a.m. till noon at Goose Island Brewhouse in Fishtown, like we've been doing since the start of the season. Please, you can come see us now if you sit outside. There's a gigantic screen that they're going to play the show on, and you'll be able to hear us, even though you cannot be inside at the time and see us. But it's nice, if the weather's nice. It's great to just sit out there, have a beer, have something to eat, and watch the show. So we encourage people to come on out, and you can call Goose Island Brewhouse in Fishtown to see if you need to make a reservation if you want. Also, YouTube channel this week, we've got the Grill and the Birds with Trey Thomas and Derek Gunn, and Tales from the Blind Side with Trey Thomas, Jamal Jackson, and Todd Hermans. Both really awesome shows. Very different, very awesome. So I hope everybody goes to our YouTube channel and checks them out. And we look forward to seeing anybody who comes by on Sunday to check out our pregame show. All right, let's give a little taste of what's to come, Adam. We'll get into this, but first, before we break it down, we've got to talk about some of the recent, not only injuries, but some of the transactions. This has been such a crazy year for transactions. There's never been as many transactions in a week during a normal year as there is for each team now, with the elevations and the practice squad protections, and then guys that are getting claimed off waivers left and right. So it was just another interesting week. So Adrian Killens, right, got released.
Yeah. So again, he was not a call-up. They actually signed him from the practice squad. So they waived him. They gambled that he wasn't claimed, and he was not. So they signed him to the practice squad. And then this one is interesting. So Brett Toth is back.
Yeah.
The Cardinals waived him off of IR, which he was come back from an injury. He never developed for them. The Eagles were super pissed when the Cardinals, the way it was explained to me last year, they were not having claimed him. They thought no one would claim him because he was an Army guy, interesting player, interesting measurables, but a guy who's a total developmental down-the-line player. He didn't develop for the Cardinals, but the Eagles wanted him back, and they got him. I highly doubt he plays this year in terms of dresses. He's on the 53-man roster, by the way. He's an interesting player they did a lot of work on, and they'll just see his offseason for 2021. That's what this move's about. Get him into their program this year, build his strength up, get him ready to go, and if we have a real offseason next year, let's see what he can do.
Yeah, so here's something that's interesting, right? They claimed him off waivers, which means he has to go on the 53-man roster, right?
Yep.
They now have 10 offensive linemen on their 53-man roster. 10.
Yeah, that was weird. Now, Peterson said that because of the injuries, Lane Johnson has his, and the guard issue. You've got two young players playing guard. Opetta's still there. They're being careful. This is actually smart by them to do that, to keep this many linemen up. Typically you don't. You dress 8 or 9. Some teams, by the way, some teams only sign set. They only dress 7, but one guy might be able to play 3 positions. But
right.
Look, the Eagles for that game, they actually did not have this last game against the Niners. Did not even have an lineman inactive. All of them were up. Driscoll was up. Jariga was up. Opetta was up. I mean, that's just not like them to do that, but they're being careful because you never know what happens. Johnson with his coming back from his surgery. Mailata's first game starting, and we outlined that on our Wednesday show. This one will be tougher, but they did it, and I understand why they're doing it.
So real quick, before we move on to that, this goes back to the Killins thing too. They signed him, right? They didn't elevate him, as you mentioned. They signed him, then released him, or waived him, and then brought him back to the practice squad when he cleared waivers. Yeah. But they didn't do anything yet. And, maybe, again, they have until Saturday at 4 o'clock to finalize moves. But you have to think they need Deontay Burnett against the Steelers this weekend. He's been on their practice squad. They have elevated him twice now, correct? Last 2 weeks, they've elevated Burnett.
They're out of call-ups for him.
Yeah, we're not wrong about that, right? I mean, it's 2 call-ups you get. Right?
Okay, here's the thing. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside will be able to play, I'm told, as long as you don't have a setback in Friday's practice.
Great,
as you know, that one's it's a real light practice, less than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't have a setback, he'll be available to him. Fulgham started, shockingly. He did a great job. Nice story. We'll see how he does against a much better defense. When we talk about players who are available, the Steelers are in much better physical shape than the Niners are. They've got Hightower. D-Jax is still limited in practice. He's still very questionable. We'll see what happens later today in practice. And then also in their walkthrough on Saturday. They dressed 4 receivers. Jeffrey
and Ward. So Ward would be the 4. You said J-Jaw, Ward, Fulgham, and Hightower. That would be 4. So are you now trying to sell me on maybe that Burnett does not get called up? I have a hard time believing.
Well, you can't call him up because he's.
I meant signed. Yeah.
Right now, the way I look at it, it's Fulgham is 1, Hightower's 2, Ward is 3. 4 would be JJ if he's available. You got to have 5 because of his injury history. You got to have 5. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
So I would lean towards him being there. And look, with Burnett, nobody wanted him when the Eagles cut him. They read the market correctly when they cut him to get to 53. They thought that he might pass through waivers unclaimed. They were correct. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted him last year when the Eagles cut him, and he was waived and he got through and he went on the practice squad. So why would anyone claim him again? I mean,
I'm not worried about claiming him. I just think that they need him for Sunday, even with
they do. Now here's the thing though. Here's the thing. I believe he might be on the. I'm going to, as you speak here, Geoff. I will look to see if he was. Did he revert back to the? Let me see here. Did he revert? Yeah, he's back in the practice squad. So yeah, okay. Let's move on here in a sec. He is back. He reverted back to the practice squad. They cannot call him up. The only way he gets there, if Jackson is available, if Jeffrey or Jackson are available, then Burnett will stay. Why would you have? You don't need to have 6 receivers available. You could say, well, haven't they had a lot of injuries? Yes. That's a tough one, man. I don't know that they would do 6. You got to have 5. You got to have 5 available and have 1 inactive if you think you could play with 4.
Mm-hmm.
But Burnett that one they have till Saturday. We'll see what happens there. But
it would be pretty stunning to me. But the Eagles are capable of doing anything. If just because J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is healthy, if he's active and he is on the active game day, and Deontay Burnett is not, I mean, that's, to me, a real head scratcher, because I don't care what Doug Peterson says. I know he says that J.J. is going to be involved in the game plan. When I hear him say that, I think a blocker from the slot on outside zone. I don't think involved as far as running routes and being a part of the pass game.
Burnett didn't have a catch. Now, I will tell you, as I was told by one person, that Carson missed him for a touchdown?
I saw the clip. There was a clip of it. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad someone else saw it because I didn't see it. I'll take your guys' word that my source and you're my sources on this. And this guy will probably be watching this show because his team's playing the Eagles soon. And he probably wants us to. They want to learn about what we know, so we'll see what we know. But yeah, Burnett is okay. He's a fifth receiver, but I get your point about JJ because he's just has not gotten anything done yet. So we'll see.
I mean, is it fair to say that Fulgham is over Burnett on the depth chart because he made one catch? Because he made
no. I'm going to tell you what. No, 3 things: runs better, longer, and outperformed him since they've had him. There you go.
You mean one game?
Practice. No.
Outperforming. All right,
it's not even been close. Like the thing that, and I've learned my lesson because I've been wrong too much on this. Buying practice and training camp and also playing well in the preseason and not doing anything in the regular season. Nate Brown, I could go back to 2005. Nate Brown, you might remember him.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And Hank Baskett was the worst example of it, where he was like the best player I've ever seen in training camp. Now I'm being facetious here, but
at least he was actually impactful in a little bit of a way.
Right, but he was Mr. Training Camp. He was unbelievable, and preseason did nothing in the regular season. But Fulgham, I'm told, in practice during the regular season has shown up, and he showed up in the first game. So we'll see what he can do this week.
Good. Could be a nice little story as the season progresses. The 21-day window was active for Vinny Curry and Craig James. And I noticed I did not see Vinny Curry on the injury report.
He doesn't have to be because he's not on the roster.
Right. Okay. So that's right. Okay. I was confused about that because I was told that it wasn't like certain that he was going to be ready for Sunday,
What will happen is if he's going to play this week, they have to activate him by 5 p.m. Eastern. And by the way, the new rule is this year, you don't have to have them practice for 2 weeks and you can decide whether you're going to activate him. There's no window. There's a 21-day window to evaluate him, but you could bring him up anytime you want. Yeah. So they have till Saturday and by the way, with the way that Avery's played, this last game, Jannard Avery, who's now a factor, and Barnett played really well. Mm-hmm. They could take as long as they want. Now, I'm just anxious to see, because we'll get into the Eagles defense versus the Pittsburgh offense. The Eagles have, as it was explained to me, 2 or 3 real advantages of the Pittsburgh offensive line that's got some holes. I'd be very interested to see how Avery is used, whether Barnett and Avery could repeat their success. But there's just some matchups the Eagles have on defense versus the Pittsburgh offense, which we'll see again. Mm-hmm. Well, it's one game. They were dominant. It was really cool to see because I want to give Jim Schwartz more credit because I've been on him for a year and a half because people I really respect from other teams have destroyed Schwartz some weeks. He's so vanilla. Playing, and I know part of it's because of the secondary issues last year, but pre-snap doing nothing to give the quarterback anything to think about. And boy, did they give Nick Mullins something to think about. So good job, Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, I made a little snide laugh when you said that they could take their time with Vinny or anybody for that matter, just because, just when you think you're healthy and solid at one position, 3 guys.
Everybody goes, right? I know. Listen, and by the way, that's probably why Roseman and Weidel had so many offensive linemen up. You can't, not just because of COVID, you just can't, especially with that offensive line with all the injuries they've had.
Yep.
I'd rather, if you and I are running the show, I'm going to say, Geoff, if we're going to go heavy somewhere because of our injuries and lack of consistency with some players on the offensive line, let's have these guys up. If we feel like we got to replace someone, we'll replace someone. Let's tell the coaches that. We're going to have them up. You let us know what you think's going on in the game. There's nothing wrong with doing that. There's really nothing wrong.
No, and just to remind everybody, Lane Johnson obviously people know because they saw with the ankle, but Jason Kelsey was on the injury report this week with a hip, and Nate Herbig was on with a groin. So I don't know if they were limited or full.
No, Herbig's good. They're all good.
Yeah,
all
they're good, but they are nursing them.
Yeah. But these are new injuries, though. These are the new injuries were Roddy McLeod. We'll get to him in a second. Kelsey and Herbig, and Alshon with an illness. And then defensively, McLeod, I was like, wow, this is a new one Wednesday, but my understanding is he's expected to play, barring some sort of setback. Marcus Epps was added this week. That's a new one with the rib. He's expected to play. And
is that where his ego is located after Ayuk hurdled him into the end zone?
I know that was Brandon Ayuk got. It's amazing. Every interview I did this week, someone almost anytime the Eagles came up, they're like, "Man, you think the Eagles are pissed off they didn't draft Justin Jefferson?" I'm like, "Well, here's what I will tell you: the fans don't stop bringing it up on Twitter."
Yeah.
But look, Rager's hurt. He's not going to be back probably until week 10. Very outside chance for week 8. But anyway,
Right.
look, it's so early, folks. Just ease up a little bit, man. You guys learned your lesson with JPP versus Brandon Graham after Brandon's first 2 years. You just got to be careful. It's only 2 games on a bad Vikings team, by the way. Let's ease up a little bit.
And like I said, in the last podcast, you want to ding them for J-Jaw while McLaurin and Metcalf have big plays. I get it. I think that's fair. Let Rager play. He's got to get on the field, and he already showed you in limited snaps that he can
55-yard catch.
55-yard
catch. And by the way, I'll never forget that play because it was one of these. I don't know how he caught it because the ball he caught it almost out of the sky and he tracked it. Like ball tracking is something people got on Nelson Aguilar about, and he was bad with it. 17 he wasn't, but it was worse last year, by the way. I was doing a show with Greg Cosell Thursday night with John Hansen for fantasypoints.com. Greg's been watching the Raiders tape, and he said Nelson Aguilar is playing really well. Isn't it comical?
Yeah, it is. It is very much so. It's like 10 years later, Derek Burgess goes to the Raiders and leads the NFL
in sacks. I know. It's just the other thing is Aguilar's not dropping it.
No, amazing. Well, you know what? There were 2 years there where Aguilar did not drop balls for the Eagles. So I guess
17.
17 and 18. He was pretty good too. It was just really, after that it went downhill again. All right. Well, Adam, you and I have been telling our listeners about PHLSportsNation.com for quite a while. They're always enhancing the fan experience with their coverage of the Eagles and the Phillies, the Flyers, the Sixers, even the Philadelphia Union. Check them out. They're for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto, and they do excellent work. They also have very good podcasts as well. Visit them on Twitter at PHL Sports Nation, and, of course, check out their website, PHLSportsNation.com. And we'll pause now real quick for a word from a great sponsor. All right, Adam, the Eagles offense against the Pittsburgh defense. I like to say whatever we saw last week, the little nickel, the little dime, the little dink, the little dunk, that's not going to work. You can't just bring that into Heinz Field and expect that everything is going to be the same, because now it's on tape and the Steelers are a lot better personnel-wise. I mean, this is what many people think of the number one defense in the NFL.
Yeah, and the Eagles have a challenge here. TJ Watt is expected to play. Dale Lally, who covers the Steelers, sent me a note on Twitter that though Watt did not practice Thursday because he got hurt Wednesday's practice with a knee injury, he's expected to play. So, look, TJ Watt's fantastic. I mean, yes, he's his brother for the Texans. That's the guy that everybody always talks about. But this kid is really good, number 90. He's technically their left outside linebacker. Bud Dupree is the speed rusher of the two. He's number 48, which is such an odd number. Bud Dupree, Geoff, when he first came out in the 15 draft out of Kentucky, he was unrefined. He needed to improve. He honed his skills in, and he's turned out to be a really good player. He's their franchise player. Good, really good football player. He's really improved. I never thought he'd get to be this good, but he's turned into a good player. And then you've got Vince Williams. This is his 8th year with them. He's been there forever, number 98. And Devin Bush, man, I remember covering his dad when he was in the NFL. Devin, obviously, is from Michigan and a former first-rounder. So this, to me, is the game where Doug Peterson's got to be honest with himself. You better have a plan if something doesn't work. I know you're the one who wants them to be aggressive. From talking to you privately, you think they're going to have to come up with a different game plan. I agree with you. But if you're Doug Peterson, you just cannot assume that your 5, which has got 3 backups playing, Mailata, Pryor, and Herbig. Mailata obviously played very well in his first ever NFL start. This defense is so much better because they're healthier. The Niners were without a bunch of players on the front and back end. But this one's going to be much harder. And I just think you got to dial it up here. You got to come up with something that they haven't seen. Keep getting Sanders involved in the pass game, Geoff. What has happened to Boston Scott, who didn't you like him last year in the pass game? What's happened to him?
Well, I think 2 things. I think the passing game structurally has been foobarred for the first 3 or 4 weeks because Carson was going through his thing.
I cannot
and
believe you
then
brought that up. I just
the
can't.
injuries. I just think it's been difficult for Doug to get any. I mean, don't you think you could take any offensive player that the Eagles have and say what's been going on with him? I mean, the offense just has not been consistent.
No, the point is find. That's not the point. The point is find a way to get this guy in the field. What has happened to him? Like, okay, so they've underachieved. I get it. I totally get it. They've severely underachieved in offense, but he's another passing option when you're down at receiver. Okay, Jeffrey and Jackson are very questionable at best to play. Most likely, one, if not both, will be sitting out.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't play, who else can you use?
Yeah, no, you're going to have to find a way to manufacture some big plays.
There you go.
We'll get into Miles Sanders because I think there's an opportunity there. But to reshift focus to what you were saying on the offensive line, last week against San Francisco, the focus was on Jordan Mailata. This week against Pittsburgh, a healthier defense, a better overall defense because they're healthier and because they have great players like you mentioned, and also more pass rushers because obviously Bosa and Ford were out. I believe the focus for this game, Adam, is less microing in on or zeroing in on Mailata and more the entire offensive line. What I was told that the Steelers will do, or what the expectation is for the Steelers to do, is to come at the Eagles' offense. At Carson at the offensive line, they will blitz. They will blitz from every direction. They will blitz multiple blitzers from the corner level to for the safety level to the linebacker level. And when a team does that, the most important thing for an offensive line, Adam, is the communication. Are you sliding to the left? Are you sliding to the right? Are you taking on this twister and stunter, or are you passing off that guy?
Exactly.
That is everything that I don't think San Francisco executed for whatever reason. Maybe it's not their philosophy or the personnel, but that's what the Steelers do.
Agreed. They didn't play any. They did not. Surprisingly, they didn't play a lot of line games. I give him a lot of credit. He handled the mental gymnastics pretty darn well.
Mm-hmm.
But this one
was nothing. That was nothing compared to what I think they're about.
Exactly.
To see.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to bring it. I totally agree with that. They could switch sides with Watt and Dupree. If I'm their D coordinator, Keith Butler's been there a long time. I'm going to attack the Eagles guards who are below average. Herbig does not move very well, and Pryor does not move very well. He's really a tackle playing guard, really right tackle playing guard. So to me, I attack those guys, and I'm fascinated to see. And by the way, the weather right now does look like it's going to clear up and probably not rain if at all. If it does, the forecast Friday morning looks like for Sunday that it may rain late in the game, but nevertheless, if the rain does hold off, I think you're going to see the footing should be fine. It's not like you're worrying about it. The new University of Pittsburgh playing in there. Sometimes the field gets a little choppy, but overall, right now, to me, I'm expecting, just like you said, I'm expecting them to throw the kitchen sink against these inexperienced three backups that are playing, and it could get ugly, Geoff. It could get ugly. Jeff Stoughton's a great coach, but you can only do so much.
Right. Well, as I say, though, Adam, where there is heavy blitzing, then there is opportunity for an offense to strike. They'll be manned up on the outsides, and that's where I think that the Eagles have to figure out find a way to get the ball down the field 20, 30 yards. And you're asking me with who? And I'm not saying I have a great answer for that. This is the challenge. I'm just talking about reality. The reality is that if you're going to have to score points to beat the Steelers, you're not going to be able to do it throwing dump off here, dump off there. So eventually you have to do what Carson did with Travis Fulgham, trust a guy to make a play and hope that happens. Fulgham will be one. Hightower has some speed. And I think this is a good opportunity to use Miles Sanders like you saw last year and then even against the Bengals where you line them up in certain receiver formations and try to get them isolated on a linebacker or a safety. Now, the Steelers have athletic linebackers and safeties, but Miles Sanders is a heck of an athlete. And if the chance is there for a one-on-one play, you got to hit it. Can't miss him.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. Totally agree with you. Sanders is a guy is a mismatch. If obviously Wentz would hit him in stride, leading them. If you do that then you're gonna get some big plays. I understand that Bush is a pretty good football player. Vince Williams is an older player, but Bush is a guy. If you get him matched up on him, he's got to win.
Mm-hmm.
The execution must be high here. You can't have an inconsistent Wentz here. They'll get smoked. He's just going to have to take advantage of every little thing. I'm totally in agreement with you so far. I mean, it's such a difficult matchup. Cam Hayward, who's terrific. Tyson Alualu has been there forever. God, I remember when he was drafted by the Jaguars. Stephon Tuitt is terrific. They'll go in nickel. They'll go with a 43 front, most likely, like most 34 teams. And Mailata, I'm worried about. I know he did a good job, but the mental gymnastics that Keith Butler, their D coordinator, is going to bring, good luck. And Fitzpatrick has a blitzer. Mike Hilton, who could blitz out of the slot, who that's how he really made his name. This thing could get ugly, but look, we've been wrong every game so far, so who the hell knows?
Yeah, that is true. No matter what we say, the opposite's going to happen. Yeah. I want to address something along these lines because somebody hit us up on Twitter, and I apologize. I cannot remember his name. It might have been Andre Smith or not, but it was in response to a story I wrote on the website, InsideTheBirds.com, basically saying that hopefully something clicked more with Carson last week in that Fulgham connection where he's a little bit more accurate and a little bit more, just a little bit more improved from last week to this week. Because as you mentioned, he still wasn't perfect and he still missed receivers. And I said, because he absolutely has to figure out a way to get the ball a little bit more downfield against the Steelers for them to win. And the comment was, well, I think that the reader thought I was criticizing Carson or warming up to be critical if they lose the game. I'm just more presenting the reality. The reality is dink and dunk will not work unless they somehow can hold the Steelers under 17 points. If they can do that, maybe it will.
Oh, my God. I'd be shocked if the Steelers score less than 24 against this secondary. I mean, Fichtner, we'll get to the Steelers offense and versus the Eagles defense, but I just don't. I'd be shocked if the Eagles led. I know that, if you look at the rankings, the Eagles have really moved up, but you always have to consider who they faced because anyway, you can make numbers look any way you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just talking about the reality of the situation is that they can't expect last week's game plan to work this week.
Totally agree. Very well said.
I'm not, if Carson throws 3 or 4 balls down the field and guys drop them or nobody's getting open, I'm not going to say, well, there you go. Carson sucks. It's not about Carson. It's about the concept of the offense that I was trying to that I was trying to convey. So I hope it wasn't taken as a
no.
But Carson does have to be better. Also, he's got to he's got to hit guys who are open.
Right. What you're saying is just because it worked against a team that was undermanned like the Niners defense doesn't mean it's going to work against maybe the NFL's best defense, which is totally healthy.
Right. And then an offense that can also score. Like the Niners couldn't score. They were on their backup running back and quarterback. And this team's a lot healthier. So that's all. Right.
So here's what I'm doing. I'm getting Sanders, Scott involved. They need another pass target. He could be dynamic in the pass game. He's average as a runner, but you get him outside formation, he could do something. Use Hightower as a deep threat. I get that he needs to fill out physically. Who cares? Yeah. Block. If you protect, use him. Okay? Fulgham, the bullseye's on him now because now it's on tape what he did last week. It's going to be a challenge for him. This is a guy that, yes, he had a great training camp after the Eagles claimed him. Based on what I've told, I also was told he's looked great in practice. He earned his playing time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's partially due because a lot of guys were hurt, but you know what? He did it. It's still going to be tough for them to score. I'd be very surprised if they scored 17 points in this game.
Well, we'll see. That is going to be the big challenge for the Eagles in that regard offensively. All right, let's flip the script. We'll talk about the Eagles defense going against the Steeler offense. But first, Adam, week 4 of football is in the books, and now it's time to review the tape and get ready for week 5. And there's no better place to get in on all the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. So to add to the excitement of week 5, DraftKings Sportsbook is bringing back their can't-miss offer. If you haven't tried DraftKings Sportsbook yet, what are you waiting for? Head to the App Store now because you don't want to miss this. DraftKings Sportsbook has given all new users the chance to receive a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. On top of that great sign-up offer, DraftKings offers great odds boost every Sunday to help you make it rain. And don't worry if football isn't for you. DraftKings is giving all you basketball fans a 200% profit boost on any basketball market once you sign up. DraftKings is safe, reliable, and secure, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code ITB when you sign up and get up to $1,000. That's code ITB to get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. The bonus deposit requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's move on to the Eagles defense against the Steelers offense. Again, one of these what a development the Steelers offense has become. I mean, you go back to the old days when they just used to ground and pound, and then, to Cordell Stewart, they got a little fancier, and then Ben Roethlisberger, and then they became a passing team. And now but even when Ben started in the heyday of Ben, right, he always had either a Santonio Holmes or Antonio Brown. There was always that number one wide receiver. And while Juju Smith-Schuster is a really good receiver, this offense is just so much more diverse than I can remember it being in the past.
I mean, they've got size with Claypool now, their second rounder out of Notre Dame. He's a little bit raw, but he is their shot play guy. Deontay Johnson is a developing player, so good. But as some person in scouting told me who's graded the Steelers, they don't have a true number one. It's really Smith-Schuster really is not. He was default last year or 2 years ago, but he really is. By the way, he's on the last year of his rookie deal. It's a four-man rotation. It's Juju, it's Johnson, it's Claypool. James Washington can play. He was a second round of 18. And then you've got Vance McDonald, who's he gets like 1 or 2 catches a game, but every once in a while it's like crazy. His run after the catch is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. He's had a lot of big plays. It's weird because if you look at him, he's 265. But Eric Ebron, Geoff, the Eagles are the worst team covering the tight end. Ebron's going to get open this game. You know it in the red zone for sure when he scored 13 touchdowns 2 years ago for the Colts. Mm-hmm. So that would worry me. I think he scored last week or last time they played. So the Eagles are in trouble. If what they have to do, they'll be in trouble if they don't get to Roethlisberger. If they get to him, and that front four, and the Eagles have great depth, if they can make Ben move before he wants to throw it, then they got a chance to keep the score relatively low. But if they protect, the Eagles will give up 30 points in this game, if not more.
See, all right, Claypool is the guy that scares me because you said he has home run potential. He has straight line speed. He is raw, but they're not going to ask him to catch 8 passes a game. He's averaging 25 yards a reception right now. He already has an 84-yard touchdown. He's the type of guy that can make only 2 or 3 catches, but they wind up being for 30, 40 yards, and all of a sudden, you're in a hole because he beat you over the top. And Mills, I'm guessing, Adam, this is what remains to be seen. You would think that this is the type of game where Jim might want to play a little bit more zone. The front four is getting a lot of pressure lately, so he doesn't have to blitz as much as long as those guys. And Ben's not going to take off for 30 yards. He's too old for that. So to me, you rush him with 4, and you drop as many guys as you can on and protect. You protect with 2 safeties if you have to. You protect guys like Jalen Mills, and you protect guys like Roby Coleman and LeBlanc, who are good corners, but they don't match up size well with these taller physical receivers.
You were on this in the spring that the Eagles are kind of small corner other than Slay. Now, then we were thinking Mills wouldn't be playing cornerback, and I barring a major surprise, Mills will be playing corner again this week. And then you're going to see more. You'll probably I would be very surprised if Wallace plays a lot like he did last week. Although Epps had 16 or 17 more snaps, Wallace is sort of a run down guy, and Epps is their pass down guy. And the way the league is now, it's a pass game anyway. But yeah, I think Wallace played as much as he did because the Niners run game. And look, the Eagles did a good job against the run game, relatively well. Mm-hmm. But man, if I'm Randy Fichtner, the OC of the Steelers, I'm spreading the Eagles out. They can't match up against them. They're not deep enough at corner. This is where I beg them to sign a veteran corner for depth. It doesn't have to be a great player. Just get a body out there. Why they haven't done it is beyond me.
No, veteran linebacker might help too, but older linebackers struggle to run, and so I can see it not being that much of an upgrade. Here's where I think maybe the Eagles catch a little bit of a break compared to last week. Last week, what the Niners did and what they do a lot of is come out in their base offense, first down. They got either two tight ends or they got the fullback on the field, and that forces you to bring your three linebackers on the field. And then they pass to Kittle on first and second down a lot. They set up that play action right out of the gate. The Steelers are not the type of team that's going to come out and throw it to Eric Ebron on first and second down and expose the linebackers that way. I think that they're more true to their identity of trying to run with Connor and Snell and get that running game going so that they do face those second and third and shorts, and that sets up the play action to go to their receivers or go to a guy like Ebron. But if the Eagles can be sound against the run and keep Pittsburgh honest and behind the sticks a little bit, then it makes it tougher for them to hit Ebron. Because then you can play a little zone, or you can bring your safety down a little bit.
And to add insult to injury, Anthony McFarland is so explosive, the fourth-round running back for the Steelers. He only had 10 snaps in the last game, but he was very impactful on his runs. I mean, he got 6 or 7 carries on a six carries for 42 yards. He's explosive. He's a changeup.
Yeah.
Snell has lost a lot of weight. He looks really good.
I remember him at he went to Kentucky.
Yep, he was 240 there.
He was like a bowling ball. He had no explosion.
I know. He's down like 15 to 20 pounds.
Yeah,
he looked good earlier in the season. I'll tell you, Randy Fichtner, their OC, has done a really good job, and I agree with you. Ebron, who scored in their last game against the Texans, the Eagles have been awful against tight ends in the red zone. Logan Thomas got him once.
Yep.
Higbee got him 3 times. I mean, Kittle could have closed his eyes and had 10 catches. I mean, it's just absurd how bad.
I think he did.
Yeah.
So he opened them up and had 15 instead.
Unbelievable. Just embarrassing. I mean, it's I'll be interested to see what happens. I'm expecting we'll have it confirmed for Sunday for you, but I'm expecting like Singleton will start at one of the probably at middle for TJ Edwards is on IR. You know what? Singleton's done a decent job. He's not bad.
Yeah,
not bad. So we'll see, but they'll spread them out. I'd bet the house that they're going to spread the Eagles out. That's how you beat them. It's obvious. The Eagles are so thin at corner. Eagles are in trouble. I'd be very surprised if the weather holds up. That if the Steelers score less than 27 in this game.
Ooh, wow. I mean, you would think that if the Eagle pass rush is where it's supposed to be,
they can protect. Now, I will tell you. I'm glad I forgot about this. So a couple notes that I've gotten from people I trust. The Eagles should have went against Matt Filer. You might remember him from Jari Evans University, Bloomsburg, as I call it. I love Jari. He's a great guy. Yeah. Matt Filer's been an incredible story of development, but he's very average. They'll win against him, and Okafor, who's a tackle, shouldn't be playing right now. But remember, they lost Zach Banner, who's their new right tackle to an ACL injury. So, to me, you got an advantage there. And I know Schwartz doesn't like the blitz. Line game, whatever you got to do, you got to beat Okafor, find a way to beat Filer at left guard. DeCastro was back last game at right guard. Those are your advantages here. You got to take advantage of them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's a good offensive line, though. So,
yep.
This to me is the matchup of the game. Do the Eagles defense, does their front four get home? It doesn't even have to hit. Can you rattle Roethlisberger a little bit? If you can't, you're not going to win the game.
It's over.
Because Jim you can't blitz this team. You can do a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be bringing heavy pressures like he did last week.
Yeah,
and mixing it up.
Yeah, that's not what he does. But I'll say this though to add to that: if they're not getting home with 4, if they're not winning, they're in major trouble, and he's going to have to change it up. Like Schwartz has got to get over his comfort zone. I understand that he's probably right going into the game if he does what you and I sort of agree on this. I come in using my 4. Okay, they were so dominant last week. Now, one thing, as someone else pointed out to me, this is a good point. It's more of a coaching point. What you really need to do here, Jim Schwartz, because now they've seen the Avery package work, is a stand-up pass rusher. He was dynamic last week and explosive.
5 hits on 16 snaps. What a
Crazy.
ratio!
Okay, now you got to move him. You either go. You could line him up at inside linebacker. Coaches love. I've talked to defensive coordinators. They love lining up situational pass rushers as inside pass rushers. You move them from end to maybe inside linebacker, where you stand them up, you hide them, use them as a joker. But you gotta bring it here, Schwartz. I love the plan he had. Major props to Jim Schwartz. He did a phenomenal job last week. One of the best games he's called in a long time. A lot of teams criticized him last season, part of the talent that he had in the secondary. But he's got Avery now, who's someone he's never had. And I love the way he used Barnett, who really showed up. You got to bring it. You got to change it up a little bit because now it's on tape. You got to do something different.
All right, you ready for our favorite segment of this podcast?
There are many. Which one?
Time to make the picks, brother.
Oh yeah, okay. Already. All right.
Unless you had anything else on the Eagle offense.
No, I'm looking at my notes here. And it's going to play into this segment right now. It's just that the Steelers have so much firepower. I just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Slay. Slay can shut down anyone. He's been that good. He's been terrific.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Mills, is going to get crushed. He's going to give up plays.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're feeling a high-scoring game. I'm actually feeling a low-scoring game. I've been on the low-scoring.
Hang on, hashtag. Go ahead.
I know. God, put it out there. Low-scoring game. Even as there's records being set across the NFL this year with
55 points a game last week. Are you serious?
I know. So our friends from DraftKings have the Eagles as getting 7 from the Pittsburgh Steelers with and they this line or total seems to suggest lower scoring game too, 44.5. Most games these days are in the low 50s to mid 50s. This one's at 44.5.
The Eagles might only score 10 points.
Yes, I was going to say. Well, they're already 7-point dogs, so we'll see. As we've been telling people, if you really want to help wager on this game on DraftKings, you got to check out our friends at BetQL because they give you some really cutting edge statistics and data that help you make the best decision when you want to wager. For example, right now, BetQL, and they have a great app, or you can go to betql.com, is telling me that their simulations, they do a lot of simulations, Adam. And right now, through all of their simulations, they have the Eagles scoring around 18 points and the Steelers scoring around 23 to 24. In fact, I just said that the spread is 7, but they feel like the Eagles are a little bit shouldn't be as much of an underdog. They have their personal spread would be 5.5 for the Eagles getting, and that's based on the kind of their
I see this. I know you and I were wrong last week.
Mm-hmm.
I underestimated I didn't realize the Eagles D-line could bring it like that. They started against the Bengals, but Schwartz really had some good stuff. And they do have a couple advantages as we outlined earlier. The two guys they could win against, but the problem isn't so much that it's I just don't see them scoring. They don't have enough talent right now at receiver. They're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They're offensively challenged as it is anyway.
Right.
I don't say it, man. It wouldn't shock me at all, and I don't see them scoring more than 14 points this game. It's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, some of BetQL's data actually agrees with you, Adam, because while their analytics say 1, they also can tell you where the sharp better money is going, and clearly it's heavily favored to the Steelers if you want to find out how much. And I was a little surprised by this. Of course, you just go to their website and sign up. And they also have really interesting simulations and models that predict how much James Conner is going to rush for, what Miles Sanders is going to total. And I've got some other predictions. And I noticed last week that they were pretty close on the money as far as some of the individuals in the game and what they were going to get, like Kittle and Miles Sanders. So check them out. BetQL's app is good, and they're betql.com. If you're the type of person that just likes to be inundated with and have all the stats and all the percentages and the simulations that you can get, then you've got to check out our friends at BetQL. And you'll get 20% off if you use the code BIRDS20. So betql.com, sign up with BIRDS20 as the promo code. You'll get 20% off a subscription, which is a really good deal. All right.
Nice.
So, Adam, it is time. Your pick is. I'm already writing Steelers.
Steelers 27, Eagles 13.
Eagles 13. Wow. Okay. You know what? I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. I think the Eagles defense is going to show up. I really do. And I'm also wondering if Jim's going to play a little bit more zone here to try to keep everything in front. So I'm going to say I'm picking the Steelers to win, but I'm getting closer to the spread. I think it's going to be more like 23, Steelers 23, Eagles 17. So it'll be close, but no cigar in the end for the Philadelphia.
You know, here's my problem, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because of Wentz's turnovers this season. That's the thing that worries me. Now, I'll say this. If they don't turn it over once, because I'm expecting them to give the Steelers the ball in a short, in the Eagles minus territory, and they score, the game would be much closer, and they won't score 27. It might be 20 to 13, 20, whatever. It could be a 7-point game. The Eagles are so offensively challenged, and this defense is so good. I just don't see how I don't know. They don't have enough playmakers. It's going to be tough. But again, finish this off. Mm-hmm. Schwartz and Press Taylor and the 85 offensive coaches they have come up. You had a great game plan last week. It's going to be much harder. Throw the kitchen sink. Get Scott involved. Get Hightower deep. Just pull it out, man. You got to do something different.
Yeah. One thing that stands out to me is that while the Steelers are 3-0, I mean, beating the Jets and Giants, no great shakes. They struggled a little bit to score against the Giants, and then obviously Houston is their other win, and that is a winless team right now. So,
True.
not a lot of strength of schedule on the Pittsburgh Steelers end. Not that the Eagles are any type of juggernaut right now, but they got a little bit of a mojo. They haven't lost in 2 weeks, the Eagles, so you can say that. And so I think
true.
They haven't. So how many teams can say that?
No, look, the Bengals have not either.
That's correct too. So Super Bowl, Eagles, Bengals. No, but I do think that I'm not saying the Steelers are a paper tiger, but I do think they'll get a little bit more of a challenge from the Eagles.
We shall see.
We both have the Steelers winning. That will do it for Inside the Birds, the leading podcast of the Eagles Intel. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Hunter Brody, and you can check out his work on YouTube, Sports Talk with Broads, and also check him out on Twitter, @Broads81. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.